I'm attempting to theorize about one of actually the most complex lore in video game history. After basically like a week ago making a really good SpongeBob theory, which you'd actually go watch by the way, maybe leave a little subscribe down there, just maybe. But this theory is looking pretty rock solid. And if you didn't understand from the title, a couple years after the ending of The Secret of the Mimic actually goes to FNAF 2 Pizzeria and controls the animatronics, and I think the evidence in this video will make you believe this. So first, if you're completely clueless of the lore around the Mimic, he basically appeared in the book Friendly Face, where there is a similar story, however there are some key differences. One being that M2, being one of the two Mimics created by Edwin Murray, didn't kill David. Not that it did in the game, but I mean, like it was never clearly stated how he died in the books. And I'm pretty sure that M1 is Fiona's replacement in the actual game, but you can correct me in the comments. Either way, it doesn't really matter to the theory. So the Mimic was made by Edwin Murray as a gift to his son David, but mostly so it could do all the parenting while he mostly worked.
Great, honey, but you're missing the party. David's 2 years old, he won't remember a thing.
But the thing is, it was exposed to an act of violence. Well, in the game, this act of violence was Edwin's grief for losing his son. Well, I guess more specifically, KO'ing the Mimic by ripping his limbs off. Well, eventually, the Mimic built himself up and probably killed Edwin the same way thanks to this audio log.
I can't move. I can't feel my legs. You know, speaking of legs, what do you think? I just finished mine. There are still a few kinks to work out. I'm sorry, M2. I lost my temper. I was always gonna fix you.
And that's the Mimic's origins, I guess. After this audio log though, he spawns behind us and starts chasing us throughout the facility in a really intense way, but somehow appears on top of our van, crashing it and taking this thing and leaving us to die. Honestly, better than this ending.
Oh!
This is the law in the game, but in the book it shows that instead of Edwin breaking the Mimic just observes his grief, because it wasn't the Mimic's fault David disappeared, so he didn't break it. What he did though is show it violence, anger, so the Mimic just copied that behavior. Oh, that reminds me, let's go over what the Mimic even is. Well, a good introduction to the Mimic is that it is an AI that learns from human behavior and imitates it, which is why it copies the act of violence from Edwin's grief. But now that we know what the Mimic is, we need to now consider its implications on the entire story, and damn it, not only do I see the Mimic in FNAF 2, but I also see parts of it in Security Breach, and I don't mean Ruin, the main game. Hell, even in Help Wanted. So now we move to part 2 of the Mimic theory. So now we need to know what happened after the events of Secret of the Mimic. Well, in the game we actually discover that Edwin Murray built the location of FNAF 1 for Freddy Fazbear Entertainment, who I must say are literal bumholes in this game. I actually thought they were recording like Phone Guy in FNAF 1 and 2 because of their absolute ignorance. I don't want your stupid gift card. And the fact that Fiona could impersonate them one-to-one shows how much they suck. I'm getting off track. What I was saying is that this shows that Edwin Murray was the guy who made these robots and inspired Fazbear to make the animatronics in FNAF 2, which is the game that I believe the Mimic comes back in. In FNAF 2, Fazbear Entertainment made the toy animatronics while keeping the possessed withered animatronics in the back to use for spare parts. These animatronics are also the same ones from FNAF 1. Anyway, if you didn't know, the toy animatronics aren't actually possessed like the rest of the robots in this game. They actually have an AI created by Fazbear Entertainment, which are known for their safety, by the way. To think that the security guard is just an endoskeleton with no suit on, so they find you and then stuff you. We know this because of the mask the guard must use in the office, and the fact that this isn't given a clear explanation is kind of insane. Why are they malfunctioning? And do we know of an endoskeleton that is known for being able to infiltrate the endoskeletons of animatronics to control them, to carry out its purpose of stuffing people who it thinks are its endoskeletons with no suits? And we know this is its purpose from the past electricians who entered the building and were caught and stuffed in suits. Oh yeah, and this ending. So yes, if you didn't get my point so far, I'm saying that the Mimic is controlling the FNAF 2 animatronics to kill the security guards, as the malfunction was never really explained in FNAF 2, like the withered animatronics or the puppet, and the Mimic was known for infiltrating animatronics like this mushroom using its AI. So now what? What happened after the closing of FNAF 2? Well, I'm not sure, but what I do know is that this scene from Security Breach shows Freddy malfunctioning, or was he? Well, no, he was resisting the Mimic's AI, and somehow he achieved this. Look at Monty or Chica, all of them have been corrupted in a way. Chica mimicking people when they eat, but just missing it by eating trash instead of actual food. They didn't resist, unlike Freddy, who was the only one who helped Gregory escape. And in the ruined we see the entire pizzaplex in ruins, but we get to this underground level to the Mimic imitating Gregory's voice. So how long has he been down here for? Well, probably a long time. And we know that sometime in between FNAF 3 and 6, he was captured by Fazbear Entertainment and was discovered to be way too dangerous. So as we see in Help Wanted, they built the pizzaplex on top of this facility to continue their AI research, which explains how Glamrock Animatronics have such a good AI, so much so that Freddy and even Roxy was able to resist against the AI, showing that it could be getting weaker or facing harder opponents. Now, this is the final part of this theory. Please, if you disagree or have any evidence against my theory, which you probably don't because it's so rock solid, but either way, challenge me in the comments. Anyway, what does the Mimic want? Well, it doesn't want anything. To be more specific, it's just an AI that is neither good or bad. Well, it's bad, but not evil, because of this secret ending in Secret of the Mimic.
That's right. A wily fox buckles washes in his pirate ship. Isn't that nice?
We can see that the Mimic just copies actions of people he has seen before, like he does when he turns into David. This shows that his purpose is whatever he thinks he is supposed to do. An example is stuffing electricians and security guards into suits, kind of like Edwin. And in fact, for all of the things Mimic is programmed to do, it always seems like it's a bit off by a tiny bit. Chica eating trash, Roxanne having a mental breakdown, FNAF toy animatronics wanting to stuff you in a suit, and it seems like the Mimic is free in the game, Security Breach, ruined. So we'll have to see what happens in the next game. And that's the theory. Please make sure to subscribe and like. It really helps out the channel, and also if you have a problem with my theory, then please leave a comment. Remember, I am literally making a theory about the most complex lore any video game should even be able to have. Maybe it's even on the level of Fortnite lore. Goodbye.